welcome back here this week in pro football. Pat Callahan here on JAKIB Sports, ready for week number 14 in the National Football League, and I'm very pleased and proud to have joining us right now a member, as I said, of the Eagles' 75th anniversary team, a gentleman who played 14 years at a top level in the National Football League out of Arizona State. He was a second-round pick, by the way, one of the greatest second-round picks the Eagles will ever make, and that's Eric Allen. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing great here at home in San Diego, enjoying the weather, of course. It's a nice day today, even though we're in the beginning of September. So it's a great day here, but great to be on with you today.
All right. Eric, thank you very much. And let me start with this. You played 216 out of a possible 224 games over 14 seasons. How did you possibly pull that off? And always, and the 216 games you always played them at a top level.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm looking for those other games. I'm not sure where those other games went. I'm not sure if
had to be a holdout. I'm sure you were holding out.
I remember, though, Buddy Ryan, who's our coach, and everybody, if you don't know Buddy Ryan and about his defenses, he was just an unbelievable coach for us. And I remember maybe my second year in the league, and we were just kind of messing around in the locker room, and I twisted my ankle, and he said, just for that, I'm not going to start you in a game. So I missed a start, but that's what it was about. It was really about being accessible for your teammates. You work all summer long to get in the best shape you could be in. You got your preparation, you're ready to go. I just never wanted to miss a game. Yes, the position is hard. It was difficult, but I didn't want to leave my brothers who were on the football field, out there without me being there trying to support and help them.
Eric, those Eagle teams during those years, the Buddy Ryan years, for instance, that you mentioned, just an incredibly dominating defense that never really got the accolades or the praise that it really should have, because I think it really even stood up to that famous 85 Bears defense, just in terms of pure talent.
Yeah.
But there were some dominating personalities on that team. Obviously, Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Seth Turner. And you kind of, you were kind of a guy who just did his job and did it extremely well. In the context of the Hall of Fame, where you're now a semifinalist again, and congratulations for that. But is the fact that you were on that kind of team that had some dominant personalities, is that actually hindering you a little bit with voters?
Well, I think so, in the fact that for as good as we were, and we had a really good stretch there defensively, where we led the league in every category once or twice, yards given up, points, just every defensive category that you can compete in as a team, we finished number one.
Right.
In most of them.
Right.
But in the end, we weren't able to kind of harness all that and win a championship. Right. Or even at that point, get to a championship game. So then when you start to place defenses overall in this, great competitive sport that we play,
right?
And you think about the Bears, you think about the Giants, you think about even the 49ers at a point when they had Ronnie Lott. So they were all able to find a way. And obviously it's a team sport and you got to have a great offense. But I think that's the one thing more than the great personalities, because great personalities are always going to be there, right? The great Reggie White. I mean, just may be the best defensive lineman to ever play football. Right. First, the great Jerome Brown, who everyone just loved. And that was kind of the glue to our football team. And then a couple years later, how Seth kind of emerged, Clyde and myself. But together, we just weren't able to bring it all the way home. And if so, I think a lot more of us would be in this position that I am right now.
Well, there you go, Eric. I was going to ask you that the lack of a Super Bowl ring. Let's face it, it's a league that rewards winners. And you're right about that. The fact the Eagles did not bring home that ring has probably cost you too. And as you mentioned, there's not many Eagles. Well, there's not many Eagles, period, in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But the lack of a ring, you think, really is hindering you also, right?
Yeah, Pat, I think so. And when you get into your later part of your career is very important that, yes, the numbers have to be there. And, playing corner, you have to find a way to get your hands on the ball. So if you're playing really well, they're not throwing the ball at you, right? So you have to try and modify and think of things that, you can keep being competitive. One thing that we did was I started traveling. So I would go from right cornerback on first and second down, and we would break down third downs, who was like the best guy on third down. It may not have been Michael Irvin. So I would go into the slot and play that guy. So that's kind of, I was able to travel, go from left to right, play in the inside. But, not having a ring, I think really matters when you start talking about the numbers and the impact that you had. And then late in my career, I was with the Raiders, and we played the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, and we were close, but unfortunately, Rich Gannon gets hurt.
Well, yeah. But Tony Saragusa deliberately falls on you, and deliberately. I mean, he did it deliberately. Did he not? Did you guys not say that on the sideline when he landed on him? He spread his hands out like he was landing a plane, and he just crushed his shoulder, right?
Crushed his shoulder. You said it, not me, right? So yes, we were so upset at that point because we had brought in a really good, balanced football team, and I thought that was going to be my shot. I just always said, if a team gets me to the AFC or NFC Championship game, I'll be able to get us over the hump. And although, we played pretty good defense, that Ravens defense was good. But yes, of course, Saragusa flopping on our guys.
That's right. And Rich Gannon, he won the MVP that year. So that was a huge loss. Eric, in your career, 14-year career with the Eagles and the Raiders and the Saints, can you name me an NFL, a quarterback and a wide receiver that you matched up against that you felt was particularly challenging?
Well, I think right away you have to give the respect to Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and the offensive philosophy and system they ran. And many people don't mention this next guy's name, but John Taylor, who was the X on that team, who played the opposite side, was also a tremendous player. He was from, I believe, he was from Philadelphia or he was from Pennsylvania. But, I mean, one of the most competitive guys in the league. So now when you're playing against the 49ers, early on in my career, I didn't travel with Jerry left and right. So I would be on, the right side, and Jerry would come over on my side. And you just knew that if your rush wasn't having a great day, Joe was going to be hot. So it was a great battle there. I think we played them. Our first time was in 89. Their first or second Super Bowl. They came back to Philly. It was a great game. So times, but
that's the game where they put up 28 in the fourth quarter, I think. Is that the game?
Joe got hot because we had banged him up. I think we were sacked him like 8 or 9 times.
I know, you almost killed him. And all he does is get up and throw 4 TDs in the fourth quarter. Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, we're like, this guy still wants to play, but those two, and then of course Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. That my favorite matchups because of just the battle of the fan base, what it was going to be like that week, all week in town if we were going there, how the fans were going to treat us. So that was always an outstanding matchup there with Michael.
And Troy Aikman is quoted, Eric, as saying that you definitely belong with a gold jacket. He even mentioned you specifically as someone that helped that front four create sacks because you had to hold the ball a second longer to see if your guy that you were covering was possibly going to get open.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm not sure where cover sack began, but I know a lot of times in our meeting rooms, I would call out, hey, cover sack, so they're talking about all these, this great pressure, and I'd just be in the back like, hey, cover sack. So we really played off each other, and that's one thing that made that defense so special. Some of those meetings after games when, we're just pounding guys, we were having popcorn. It was just a great day on Monday watching film when you're able to beat up on some guys.
No, I can imagine. You guys were the king of the roots. Certainly were at the height of that defense. Now, Eric, this is 18 years now. You've been a Hall of Fame candidate, and you have been a semifinalist before. And I think of a guy like you, and on the other side of the ball, I think of a guy like Torrey Holt, who I think is very similar to you. And the statistics, he clearly belong in the Hall of Fame. How frustrating is it that you have to kind of go through this root canal year after year?
Yeah, Pat, up until last year, I really never did things like this, to kind of promote myself, because I always thought once you get past 50 interceptions, that was the magic. That was it right there. It was kind of like 500 home runs and
right.
They're automatic in. So as soon as my career was over, I went right to ESPN, and I worked for ESPN for 15 years.
Right.
And it wasn't I was too busy. It was just I loved the game, and I didn't want to think about, man, I got to go and promote myself, to let people know how good I am.
Right.
But recently, people have come up and like, man, it's been a long time. You may need to, do a little self-promotion to let people know, how good you were when you played, because it's been such a long time.
Yeah.
And Torrey Holt is a fantastic player. One guy I would mention that hasn't been mentioned a lot is Darren Woodson. Yeah. Darren Woodson played that safety slot position that we're starting to see now. We see a lot of linebackers now out of the game, and they bring that safety in the box. Well, Darren Woodson was doing that years ago. So, myself and Darren were impact type players multiple times at the Pro Bowl, all Madden and all that kind of stuff, which is important for players.
Right.
But it's time now.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Your resume: 58 interceptions, 9 interception returns for touchdowns, including, of course, that one against the Jets, which far greater people than me have said was the single greatest interception return for a touchdown in NFL history. So, I mean, and the other stats, I mean, as I said, 14 years, 6-time Pro Bowler. There is a hell of a resume right there for someone like yourself. And I think it is high time that this happened, Eric. Now, you've got some powerful guys. Sal Palantonio goes on my show every week.
Yeah.
Sal and Paul Domowitz are pushing like hell. And when you get Sal going, you got one of the 5 families going. So,
I tell you, Sal is great, awesome. Our conversations from years ago, he was like the first guy that kind of mentioned, he's like, Eric Allen, he's a lockdown corner. And I was like, oh, all right, Sal. We've always stayed in contact. I mean, just great people there. When I first came to Philadelphia, all those great people, the industry as far as media is concerned, they know their business, they know what it's about. So it was always nice to sit down with guys like him and Dom and compare notes and talk football. Those guys have been terrific, always had my back. So do the Raiders. Raiders also have a terrific staff, great alumni base, always have my back. Both organizations are clearly behind me on this and have my respect and appreciation.
All right, well, that's good. One last question, Eric, before I let you go, I wanted to hit you with was the game now. Obviously, even you having retired now for almost 2 decades, the game has opened up even significantly since then, and such immense pressure from 5 yards down the field on cornerbacks who are supposed to cover guys now, Eric, without touching them, without looking at them. And I don't know how you're supposed to do it. How tough is it, in your opinion, to play that position today?
Oh, it's a tough position. Well, I'm able to be front row at it. I've been working with the Raiders for the last 4 years since we've been in Las Vegas, and I do game day. So I break down every position, pregame, postgame. And what I've noticed is you can't be too physical at the line of scrimmage. It's not going to work. These guys are so great at getting off the ball. If you're a receiver, it's going to be very difficult. So again, I go back to things that made me successful. And you see guys like Sauce Gardner and many others, and they play up here.
Right.
If you're where the ball is going to be at the end of the play, you're going to be good. And so it requires you to prepare and study and have a great understanding of offensive philosophy and formation, those kind of things. And you're going to be successful if you're a guy who can process quickly and, of course, catch the football.
All right. That's right. Which you did 58 times, I might add, Eric. So listen, I think it's really high time. I wish you all the best. By the way, people find you Silver and Black Productions.
Yes.
Raider Nation, of course, is nationwide. So where would people find you online or on cable to watch Raider Game Day?
Yeah, so every week we're at Silver and Black Productions. You can find us on our YouTube channel. That's Raiders.com. And then if you're in the Las Vegas area, we're on Fox 5 post game. I think at 10:30 p.m. on Fox. So we're just kind of doing a great job. The whole department. We do Raiders everything, pregame, postgame. If you're at the stadium, come to the Torch and see me in pregame doing pregame radio with JT the Brick, who's an outstanding guy and does a phenomenal job. So we get it done in the stadium, on YouTube, and on television.
All right, Eric Allen. Listen, I wish you all the best, and I think you're in there. I think you're going to make it. You got some powerful guys on you.
Yes.
It's just a well-deserved thing. I think that gold jacket will be yours, and I'll be the first. I hope to offer you congratulations. So thanks very much for joining me tonight.
All right. Thanks a lot, Pat. Really appreciate it, man. You'll be there at the party too.
All right. Thank you very much. The great Eric Allen joining me here on This Week in Pro Football. Really one of the great cornerbacks. It just did it quietly and effectively. And that quiet, that confidence with which he played has now, I think, hindered his road to Canton, Ohio, because he just wasn't a flashy player. He was a guy who the statistics bear it out, got the job done. So Sal Powell's exhortation to everybody to get on social media and beat the drum for Eric Allen. I certainly second that. All right, listen, that'll do it for This Week in Pro Football here, presented by Kennedy Ford. I do think the Eagles are going to beat Dallas Sunday night. I think the Eagles win that game. Dallas is playing great football right now, but I think Seattle exposed some things. I think the Eagles are going to watch that film, pick some things up there, and should shore it up enough defensively to come out of there with a win. Be very exciting, though. We'll check it out, and we'll talk to you next week all about it when we reconvene for Week 15 of This Week in Pro Football, presented by Kennedy Ford.